Hello everyone, my name is Landon Quiring and I'm going to teach you guys how to live stream at Branson Junior High and Branson High School. Alright, so I did want to note before I started this video that this video is extremely long, and I deeply apologize about that, because I know that this is that you could spend time somewhere else, but this video I think is going to be about 2 hours 45 minutes long. However, even though that sounds long, and it is long, that some videos that are in OBS that are like the super advanced stuff that gives you a bunch of extra stuff that you don't even know are like 8 hours long. So I'd rather do a 3-hour video and make a 3-hour video for you guys than make an 8-hour video. I have timestamps on the actual timeline and in the description, and I also have links in the description for all possible things that you might need. Download links for specific programs, and then Amazon links for different products that I use, and just everything that I include in here. If I can think of it, then I'll probably make a link in the description. You can see the work that I do in the example stream later on in the video. That's actually live. And you can watch and see actually what the final result of that was. So let's just get started. So the first step in live streaming is getting a computer. So I have a computer right here, and I will note that this computer specifically is not in a functioning order, so there's that. So all the software parts is actually on another computer, recording on another computer. But this is a good example of what a computer tower would look like. In the front here, we have like some front I/O, some USBs, and some power, or not power, some audio jacks. It says right here, headphone and microphone. You have a disc tray right here. You have your power button down here, and reset button right here. Obviously this may vary in some cases may have them in different spots. On this case we have this little card reader, and so that has like SD card and USB, and I think T-Flash is also the same thing as micro SD, I believe. So that's all on the front of the case. In the back, you can see that we have a lot more stuff. So here's the motherboard I/O, input, output, peripherals. And so you can see here that we have several things that can connect to the motherboard directly. I'm not going to open up the computer because, like I said, there's many things that aren't actually in there and where they're supposed to go. But I'll link a video in the description of a build guide on how to build a computer, and that'll also talk about all the parts of a computer as well. So you have your USB ports, as you probably know. You have USB 3 and USB 2. That's a major difference, something that you need to look for. USB 3 versus USB 2. USB 3 is typically either labeled and or blue. In this case we have 1, 2, 3. This is a external SATA device, don't worry about that. And then this one's like an external SATA / USB device. It's kind of weird, but we have 1, 2, 3, and then you have 2 in the front of the case. So we have 5 USB 3 ports in total on this particular build. USB 3 is like 10-ish times faster than USB 2, and sometimes even more than that. USB 3 is 5 gigabit per second transfer speeds, and then USB 2 is 480 megabit per second, I believe. I'll add something if I'm not right. So that's all that you have that. Now down here, you can see that we have a graphics card. This graphics card is a old graphics card as well, so there may be a little bit different. And then this just kind of pops out. It's just a holder. But you have different types of ports on your graphics card. You have display port, which is these 3 ports right here, HDMI and DVI, and I'll show you where all these ports plug in and what the cables go with them in a second. This down here is a Wi-Fi antenna, which I would definitely recommend you get. It basically just gives you another source of Wi-Fi. Oh, I didn't talk about the other Wi-Fi. The other form of internet is Wi-Fi. You have 2 forms: Wi-Fi and Ethernet, and that's this port right here. And so that is what you can use to connect. I would recommend you have this at all times whenever you're streaming, because if you don't, you're just going to have a bad time. And your viewers are not going to see the best quality if you don't have a good Ethernet connection. But if you for some reason your Ethernet cable breaks in the middle of a stream, or it gets disconnected and you have no idea what's happening, Wi-Fi as a backup is always another option. So I'd definitely recommend getting one of these to put in here if you don't put in your system if you don't have one already. Another thing that I haven't talked about is that I'm assuming that you're using a desktop and not a laptop to stream. If you are, that's fine. You'll just have a little bit less ports that are on here, but most of it, like a Wi-Fi card, you probably will already have integrated with your system, because that's what most systems have, or laptops are designed to do. But I would still recommend using an Ethernet port if you have one, or if not, getting an adapter so that you can use one. Finally, down here at the bottom, you have your power supply, and so this is what takes all the one power jack. This is your power jack, and this is a switch to control that. But your power jack splits the power into all the different power plugs that you need for inside of the system. All of your motherboard, all your peripherals and graphics cards and stuff are all going to be powered off of your power supply. You want to make sure this is a good power supply, and not like a $40 one that you found off of eBay. You need to make sure that this is very quality and a brand that you trust. This is a Corsair branded power supply, and they make good stuff. So, also another thing to mention is that if you have a capture card, which takes your cameras and plugs them into the computer, I'll talk about that in a second. That is PCI Express based, that goes inside of the computer. It'll also go in one of these slots as well. So it would be either probably like in between here or in between here somewhere, or just go inside the computer, and that's where that would go, in one of these expansion slots. Alright, so this is cables. Cables are a very important thing inside of the brains of a live stream, because they connect all of your power, your data, your cameras, your internet, everything almost runs through a cable. You want to minimize the amount of wireless things that you have, because wireless adds latency and delays, and that's not good. So I'm going to show you what all these cables do. Let's start with the power cord. The power cord for a computer, and for a desktop at least, is going to look something like this. It has 2 prongs on the top and 1 on the bottom, and there is no way that you can get it wrong, because it's slanted on this side, so if you can't put it in, it only goes in one way, is what I'm trying to say. So this goes into your power supply, and this one cable is providing the entire, all of the inside of your computer with your power. And that's what the power supply does, is take this one cable and splits it out into the other parts of the system. So you take this cable, you can see that the cable is matching those. So you just take it with the slanted side in the slanted part of the power supply, and you just pop it in. Make sure that whenever you plug it in, right now this cable is going to nothing, but if you have it plugged in, I have a power extension cord over there, that you do not have this on while you do that. You make sure this is in the off position. Then we'll see if I can do this with one hand, and we will just take it and plug it in like a normal power jack. I hope I don't have to explain that to you. So we'll just plug it in. There you go. Alright, so something I can also teach right now real quickly is the way to coil a cable. So obviously this will work. This will provide power to your computer. But if for some reason you have it really tight and someone chips on it, your entire computer and your entire live stream is dead unless you have a battery backup, which I'll talk about that later and is highly recommended if you have the budget for it. So something that we can do is we can coil this cable so that if we trip on it, it's not going to pull on this connection and therefore not unplug your computer and kill your stream. So here's how you're going to do that. You're going to basically take these two cables and you're going to tie one. I would use the one that's not super thick like this extension cable and use the thinner one. And you're just going to tie it just like you're going to tie a shoe. This first part of tying a shoe. And so then you have that, and then you just take the cable, you wrap them around, and you plug them in. So now, if you see, however much strength you put to this, it's not going to unplug the connection unless you have like a super weak cable, which you probably, for power cable, there's not going to be any weak cables. So this power cable will not go anywhere unless it unplugged from the wall. That's the only other reason that it could unplug. And so for cables that have like two joining ends like this, and another thing could be something like this. Here's another, I'll do another example. This is a USB extension cable and a micro B cable. I'll talk about that in a second. But you take this, you put them up together, crisscross, you wrap one end around. This one is the smaller cable, so I wrapped this one around, and then I wrap it around like that. Now, this is what I was talking about. If you have a super weak cable, you can see that this side is kind of starting to come out, so you still want to do something about that if you can, like possibly put some tape around it if it's safe to do that, which in this situation it is, and you just put tape around both of these ends and it'll stay there. So yeah, that's the best way to do it. To wrap your cables. Alright, so now you know what a power cable is and how to wrap your cables so that they do not move and they don't unplug from each other. So next we'll talk about all the rest of these cables. So we'll pull the blue one first because it looks the best. This blue one is an analog connector to connect to a display. This is called a VGA cable, and it has 5 pins in 3 rows, and they are crisscrossed like that, and it will plug into a monitor, which I will get right now. Alright, so since this computer does not have a VGA port, I'm just going to plug it into the monitor, and then you can see where the corresponding port is on your computer if you have one. So this VGA cable can only go in one way. And so here's the back of a monitor that has VGA on it. So you can see that the cable that's right here will not work unless you line it up with there. Because if you plug it into here, then there will be an extra pin here bumping up against the plastic and you don't want to push too hard on it. So it should just flip it around, make sure that the bump that's on the farthest side matches with the bump on the farthest side. And then you are just going to focus, camera. You're just going to push it right in until you can't really see the connector anymore. And so now on this one, and also the DVI cable, which I'll show in a second, can be screwed in. And I would recommend doing that if this is not like a temporary connection. If this is like something that you want to use all stream, I would recommend locking it at least a little bit, so that way it's much harder to get out, although if you only have one hand and you're only doing it like this, it'll be a bit easier. But alright, there you go. Now you're pretty much not going to lose a connection in between there. Alright, so the next one that we're going to use, we're going to unplug this real quick, and that's why people don't use these ever. So the next one that we're going to use is a DVI cable. That is what I said earlier. So this one, there's different types of DVI connectors, and you can see them right here. So I have an example. So next to this monitor, we have a type of DVI cable that is, I think, Gen 1. And that has all of those pins, which is a 8x3. And then you have a sideways pin. And that's your ground pin, and that will make sure that you plug it in the right way. On this one, you'll see that some of the connectors are missing, but overall, it's the same thing. This is a digital connection. VGA is analog. I don't know if I mentioned that or not. But basically, it's the same principle. The golden tab lines up with the golden tab, and then you just plug it in, just like that. Now, on this computer, you will see that this also has a DVI connection right there. This is a Gen 2 connection, however, where you can see that it has a vertical line there and 4 more extra pins. However, Gen 1 will also work in a Gen 2 connector. However, a Gen 2 cable will not work with a Gen 1 connector because it has the extra pins there, whereas it's like solid. But I only have Gen 1 cables, so that's good. So you just take it, and it's the same principle basically. You take the golden tab and you line it up with the golden tab, and you just ignore all the rest of that other stuff that Gen 2 added. Plug it in, and then you have the locking connectors, same as VGA. The next thing that you can plug into your system is audio. We're going to talk about audio in a little bit, but this is one of the standard connectors. And this is a 3.5mm audio jack. I'm sure you've seen these as they go in, as they are in many places around your digital life. These will plug in either over here at the front of the system. I showed you there's the 2 audio jacks. Now this one is split up to headphones and audio, and like a microphone. So you can plug it into just one or just 2, or like one of those, depending on what you're using for. And so you can just plug it into the right port. On the back, I didn't share this, but there's a lot more connectors that are right there. However, as a general rule, you can these actually have them labeled, but pink is mic and green is headphones. So if you want more than just the ones on the front, then you can use these as well. Something that I have to grab down here is one of these, and these will come with most standard headphones, and these are a dual audio and headphone adapter to one single connector. And so you can use these, and you can plug it in. You can see these actually have the orange and the pink and the green on there, and you can just plug in. I'm going to do green first so I can actually see what I'm doing. Green and pink. And then you have one connector. Now, notice that on this cable, that you can count how many prongs it has. So you can either do a 2-prong, or there is a 3-prong cable. Let me grab that real quick. Here's an example of a 3-pronged audio cable. So you have the 3 black ones in reverse to just 2. Now, what does this mean? Both of these cables are the exact same thing as far as compatibility wise. They will both work, and on this little adapter they will both work. However, only one of them can support headphones and audio, and you can probably take a guess that it's the one with the more pins, or the more breakout black spots. And so on here you have your stereo headphones, one left and right, and then you have your microphone, where this one just has left and right headphones. So you need to make sure, if you have a cable, that you need to make sure that it has the appropriate amount of pins that you need. But both of these do work in an audio jack like this. They're just 3.5mm and that's the standard unit for them. You can also call them aux cables, auxiliary cables, a bunch of other stuff. There you go. Plug in just like that. Next up is another form of digital connection called HDMI. This is what you will use for most monitors if you have an external monitor that is not old like that one. That one is just a DVI and VGA, the white and blue cable. However, this one is an HDMI. There, I have some that are HDMI like that one over there. This one has a unique design that you've probably seen before. It's sort of a trapezoid. You have this on top and the smaller piece on bottom. You cannot get it mixed up because you can't put it in the wrong way, otherwise this will bulge out. So on this, make sure you unplug this if you're going to do a demo. And you're going to plug this in. On this graphics card, there's only one HDMI connection. There may be more than that though. But you can see, like, if you plug it in like this, like, it's not going to plug in. Like, it's not going to. You have to make sure that the notches align with the notches on the graphics card. You just plug this in, boop, and there you go. Now you have that, and then you plug this into the back of a monitor. That's not this one, but it's pretty straightforward. Another thing that I have to mention is that sometimes you will need, well, all the time, if you have an extra monitor, you will need another power cable that goes to that. And so make sure you have plenty of those, and you may have to get a power strip we will have to get a power strip in order to plug in more than one. Like right now I just have a power extension. I don't have a power strip with me. You guys know what that looks like though. This, I alluded to before, is a USB extension cable. And so at with our live streaming setup, we have lots of USB devices that we need to move around some places. And so this is one way of doing it. Going USB to USB, and so that way you can plug in a USB cable for something else onto this, and then this can go into one of these ports. I'm plugging it into a USB 2 port right now, as you can see, because it's currently red. USB 2 ports don't really have a color associated with them. Typically they're black or white, but since this one has it red, so it doesn't really matter. But you'll notice that this cable is not blue, so it is a USB 2 cable. And the differences between USB 2 and USB 3 as far as the cable goes is that they have 2 extra connectors that are inside them. And I would show you, except I don't want to ruin my cables and break them apart. But as a general rule, USB 2 cables have 4 wires that go inside of this cable, and USB 3 has an extra 4, so that's 8 cables that are inside a USB 3 cable. And so you can plug them into this, although you're going to be bottlenecked by the cable, so it really doesn't matter. So if you have a USB 2 cable like this, I would recommend just plugging it in to a USB 2 port. On the end of this, you can just use any regular USB, as long as it's not super terrible, like from the dollar store. I've tried this out once where I've used multiple of these wrapped up together, and one of them was a dollar store one, and it didn't work. So another thing that you can use, for example, or something that you can plug into this, is this smart USB hub. This has one cable on the end that is USB 3, note since it's blue, and it says on the bottom, and that it goes to 4-port USB 3 data hub. And so it takes one port on the back of your system, and you plug it in right there, if I can get it the right way. And then on this thing, you have 4 extra connectors on here. So if you are running it off of a laptop, you will definitely need something like this, where you can have extra cables and connectors to it. I use, and it's over at my desk, it's a 7-port connector, and so sometimes I'll need that for live streaming stuff as well. And you may have to stack up these as well, so make sure you have a couple of, one or two of these as well, I would say. Let's see, what else have I not covered? Ah, yes. The different forms of USB. So we have different forms of USB. Obviously, you have USB Type A, and this is the interface that hooks up with most computers. Typically, you won't see it with a mic A to A connector, but I have seen it before. I have an alarm clock that has one that does that. I have over here, I have a USB-B connector. You will not see this too often anymore because it's super huge, but you will see it sometimes. The USB port, the 7 port that I have, that I talked to you about earlier, uses a USB 3 version of this, which basically just has an extra nub on the top of this side. And you'll also see this in like printers and stuff. I've never used this inside of a stream though, so that's why I didn't have it on my bed. Bye. And then next is micro B. This is a micro B cable. It has this form of a connector, and it will connect to some cameras. You'll probably see it in some household appliances that you have in your home, and technology gadgets. I have several things that use these, and I have a plentiful supply of these. The next cable that I have is actually on the floor, and that is a mini B connector, and that is a bit older, but it's still the same principle. All of these have 4 or 5 pins on them that they just connect to, and so this might go into a camera as well. I used to use cameras that only had this on them, and that's how they transferred their data. So that's how, those are the different types. You also have a USB-C, except those don't really come to cameras yet. But the cool thing about USB-C is they are interchangeable, or not interchangeable, but they are reversible. Whereas these, you can only plug in one way because of the trapezoid-shaped design that they have. But these can plug in either this way or this way to something like a phone. I have my phone here, and so you could plug this in. I won't have this, won't charge it because I don't have this plugged in, but it'll charge like this, and it'll charge like that. It does not matter with these, but these do. I don't have a device that uses these right now, but general principle, you know what these are. The final thing, oh yeah, there's also different forms of HDMI. So this is a HDMI, a micro HDMI. This is a micro HDMI connector. It's basically just a smaller form of HDMI. However, you have to make sure that you don't get micro HDMI and micro USB mixed up, because they are very confused, or they can be confusing. This one's the USB, this is HDMI. There's also mini HDMI, and that's just a slimmed down version of this. This is kind of like scrunched up. And on mini HDMI, I don't have one of those cables with me, but they are slimmed down. I'll add a picture of it right here. The final thing that I need to talk about is your internet. And I talked to you before about an Ethernet cable. Connecting to an Ethernet jack in the wall is highly recommended, and I would say almost required. This has like 8 cables inside of this, and you can see that this only goes one way because of the notch that's on this side. So on your computer, you can see that my port is right here, and it is also red due to this motherboard style. And you can see that the notch that right there goes right there. So if you plug it in this way, it's just not going to work because you have that notch. But you see, you line the notch with the notch, and you push it in until you hear a click. And then you have to make sure you push that tab to pull it out. And display port. So this is what you can use for some monitors. Some monitors will take this. But other than that, very few peripherals will take this. Display port is a different way of connecting to other displays, and that's why it's called display port. This one has a little bump in this square design, therefore only making it go and playing in one way. And this one also has locking connectors. So you can see that if you push this down, these cables will hide, and then if you don't, they do not. So they will go in, but in order to take them out, you have to push down on these in order to pull out the connector. This plugs into the same place where the HDMI plugs in on your graphics card, and not on your motherboard, by the way. I would assume that you have a dedicated graphics card for your streaming, and you need to make sure that you use a graphics card and not the ports that are on your system. This motherboard actually doesn't have any DisplayPort or HDMI connections, because this specific type of motherboard and the way this computer works does not support onboard motherboard display. But if you had a graphics card, you can do it with anything. So you line up the little notch or the little bump in the cable with the bump in the connector, and you just push it in. If I can get it right. There you go. So now you also notice that those clicks will those little bumps will take into effect until I push them down, and then I can pull them out. So always make sure that you have those pushed down before you pull them out, or else you could damage something inside the connector. The other connector that I have, or that I don't have, there's two connectors that I don't have that you can use for streaming, and obviously there is more cables other than that, but two of the main ones that I have are SDI, shown here. And that is a better form of, a more professional form of HDMI, DisplayPort, VGA, or DVI. And because it has a locking connector, so it slides in and it locks together so that they do not move out, and they don't like come apart like it's just a sliding connector. The other one is an XLR cable. I do not have an XLR cable at home with me. That's the main way of connecting nice microphones and different audio equipment as well. That's an audio cable. I'll also pull up right now a pretty low streaming system. You can stream with just about anything, but you can't stream a quality stream with just anything. I'm gonna have a list that is relatively the bare minimum of what you need to stream, as far as hardware wise, what you need. And so that'll be pulled up on screen now. The other thing that we can talk about is external adapters that you might need or have. Something that I have is this. This is a capture card, and this will connect to a USB right there. No, this is a USB 2 model. There are more expensive ones that are USB 3. They are about 10 times the price. So I picked up this one on Amazon for $15, but in short terms, it plugs into USB. You have that HDMI cable, and you can plug your camera into there with an HDMI cable, and it will turn your camera signal into a webcam, therefore making it able to use. And I just dropped it, therefore making it able to use with OBS, your streaming software, or just on your computer. Other external hardware could be something like this. This is a USB to Ethernet adapter, USB over Ethernet adapter, or no, I lied. This is an HDMI over Ethernet adapter, and so this can be used to add HDMI signals over long distances, therefore making it able to get your camera just about anywhere as long as you have a long enough Ethernet cable to support it. This specific model is only like 300 feet, 300 foot Ethernet cable, but I mean that's a lot. So I would say We have in the high school band room, band equipment, we have a 100-foot Ethernet cable, and we use that a lot to take our either take our cameras other places or take our computers in places where there's not a either an Ethernet jack around or just an easy way to connect a camera. And then other than that, you'll have a few external sound microphones and whatever you need there. The band uses a Zoom microphone. I'll show that now as well. But other than that, as far as typical live streaming events go, that's about all you need. So now we'll move on to cameras. Okay, if you have noticed that the camera quality has changed a little bit, you'd be correct, because I am streaming, or I'm not streaming, I'm recording from my phone. That is not that good. But, nevertheless, this is a camera that you can use for your live streams. It is, this is what I would be probably consider the bare minimum. As far as cameras like these go, they have, you open this up. A lot of journalism the journalism at the junior high uses this. Also, in order to keep your lens clear, you do that. I know some people don't do that, and I just want to show that. But you have this little slot here that closes and opens the lens, and that way you can keep your lens clean. You have your zoom and your like your photo button, and then you have your record button down here on this particular model. The cool thing about capture cards is that they do not force the zoom, whereas if you connect a camera directly through USB, like I used to do, since I didn't have all this equipment, then it did not work as good, and you were stuck with one zoom the entire time. This camera particularly, if you wanted to connect it through HDMI to that capture card, you have to open up this little gate, and you'll see that small HDMI out signal. And so with this HDMI cable that I showed you earlier, you just plug it in right here, and then you take the HDMI end of this and you plug it directly into your capture card. And so yeah, so that's how you plug in a camera mostly. Some cameras will have mini USB or mini HDMI shown here, and some cameras will have a regular HDMI port, or some of them will have a SDI cable port, which would be more of a high quality camera. But nevertheless, this is how you pick a camera, or this is how you find out how to connect the camera to the computer. Picking the right camera is pretty simple. I would not recommend having a camera that go anything less than 1080p. 1080p is the minimum, so 720p is a little low on my standards at least. 1080p is considered HD, and so this one has an HD written all over it since it was made a long time ago. That's one of the features, and so something that is there, obviously I closed the lens, but you can see that I am shooting, where is it? It's in right here. It says HD right there. 1080 HD 60 FPS, 60 interlaced FPS. So there's that. So I would recommend not going anything less than 1080p. And that's just the resolution of what the camera outputs. But like, yeah. So this is the HDR CX240. So I would recommend just getting a camera that's 1080p or better. I have a camera at school that is for band that is a lot better than this, and I'll link it right here. I'll show the image of it. And even though it's still 1080p, it is a higher quality sensor, is what I can say for that. And the sensor is better, therefore producing a clearer 1080p image. So that's cameras. Basically, picking the right camera, as long as it's 1080p and it has an output that you can connect through HDMI to your capture card, you should be good. Alright, so another thing that is that you need to look at is audio. So I don't have too many audio devices here at my house, but I'll include a couple of pictures on the screen. So this is in front of you is a Go mic. That's from Samsung Technologies, and that's what we used last year at the junior high, and that produced a pretty good quality sound for basketball games and events and stuff like that. The next thing that you're going to see is right here, and that is a Zoom. And this is a device that the band rooms have that you can use for music events like choir and band concerts and stuff. So picking the right microphone is important, but there's video for most things. For like basketball games is priority, but also in band concerts and stuff, the audio is more important than the video. Alright, so two final things that we need to cover before we go into software mode is the camera's charging ports and the battery backup. So for the camera's charging ports, on this particular camera, there is no way to charge the camera while you are using it, which sucks because that means that you have to worry about battery life and you have to replace the cameras after 45 minutes or so for redundancy and to make sure that everything's right. On this camera, if you want to use the same camera so that you just have a consistent camera, it's always right here. This is the battery. You take this out, you push on down that little knob, and then you just grab it, and then you can replace it with another battery that you might have charging in another camera. Then you just put it back in, and I put it in the wrong way. The arrow has to go on towards the blue arrow, the blue piece. Arrow there, they line up, and you wait until the blue knob comes across the battery, locking it in place, and then you put it like that. Some cameras, like I will show here, will have a DC input that you can use a charger that you plug into the wall while you are streaming, which is very highly recommended if you can get your hands on one of those cameras. But if not, obviously, that's okay. Second thing is battery backups. I mentioned this before, but in the event that the power goes out or just a jack doesn't work, or in some cases, or if you're going on what we could have used it for is if we're going on a off-site live stream like the Veterans Day parade that I did, then a battery backup is very handy, so that you can use it for so you can just have it as a battery backup. So, or in what I would use it as for a battery. So I'd highly recommend getting one of those if you can. It just helps for redundancy, and so if the power goes out or if just something happens, then you should be good. Or if you want to go off-site. So that's it. We're now going to transition into software. Alright, welcome to the software portion of this video. So today I'll be teaching you how to go through all of the things that you need to do software-wise in order to get your stream up and running. Software is a bit more complicated, but it's also a bit more self-explanatory. So there's that. Think of that what you will. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is computer drivers. For your graphics card, you need to make sure that your drivers are up to date, or else your streaming software will give you an error and it will not be. And then 5 minutes before you have to start the stream, you have to go to the download site and download something. So you're going to go to the depending on what graphics card you have. Let's try to find that first. So down in the bottom here, you're going to right click and you're going to click on Task Manager, and then you'll see that the Task Manager window pops up. It'll typically probably be like this, and so then you'll just click More Details, and you'll see all the different apps that you need to do. So what you need to look at is you need to look at your performance, and then you need to scroll down through all of the discs that I have and stuff, and then you can see the main graphics card that I have is the NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1050 Ti. We'll do some more Task Manager in a little bit, so just minimize that for now. But we can go to the nvidia.com/download. I'll add a link in the description for that. And so then you can see, and you can narrow down which one it is. So it's a GeForce card. It's a 10 series, and then the 1050 Ti, Windows 10 64-bit. And then we want the studio driver, because if you click this, you'll see that it is for live streaming. If you wanted to like play games on this too, I guess you could also do game ready. There doesn't matter too much. And then obviously language is English. You're going to click search, and it's going to give you this studio driver. You're going to download it, and then click download, and then you're going to save it, install it, blah blah blah. You know how to do that, and then it should be good. AMD is very similar. AMD.com/support/en/support, and then you can select your product from here and then do that. So that's how you install your graphics card drivers. So next we're going to talk about system updates. So system updates is very annoying whenever you have them and you have to run through them before you start streaming. So we want to make sure that we turn those off before we do it. So you can either click on your start button, and you can go to settings. I actually have a button right here for easier for me. And so then we're going to go to update and security. And so then what we're going to do right here is we're going to do pause updates for 7 days, and we're going to click on that until we cannot anymore. And so then it says updates paused. Your device won't be up to date while updates are paused, and updates will resume on 1/31/2021. So that means that your device will not like freak out at you and tell you that you have to update until, and in my case, end of January 2021. This is very important. Like I said earlier, we don't want updates doing that. Whenever we always want to make sure that we pause updates for 7 days, except when we have a day, or if you think, oh, I should do some updates today, and we should let those run. And then you could just click resume updates, and then you'll get all the updates that you missed out on during your time period while your updates are paused. But only resume updates whenever you aren't streaming, or it's not the day of streaming or whatever, because you want to make sure that the Windows that you have is perfect on the day of streaming and right where it needs to be. The other thing that we need to do is other programs active. So if you have a lot of programs on your computer, which I do, I just don't have them shown, is you can turn them off at startup and just turn them off. So back in your task manager, you need to go to the startup tab, and you need to check through all this, and you need to make sure that everything that you don't need immediately is disabled. So like update checker.exe, we don't need that. Disable it. Discord, disable. So just whatever you have on here that you don't need can be disabled. Most of it can. There's some things that really don't like that, and it'll turn itself back on or whatever. But you don't need anything like that. Any of this stuff that is running in your background. And also, I'm not sure what the best way to do this is, but yeah. So right here there should be a arrow. I can't really show my screen because that's kind of hard, but you need to make sure that everything is out of your window to your background processes window. And so to do that, you can go to processes, And so like Malwarebytes tray application, end task. Groove music, end task. Windows Explorer has to be on there. You can't get out of that. And task manager. Now that we're done with it, or we're done with settings too. End task, task manager, end task, and there we go. Everything is there. So the next thing that we need to look at is software updates. I said this already a bit, but in all of your programs that you have, you need to make sure that they're all up to date. So you need to make sure that each of these programs are up to date. OBS Studio, launch anyway. So you need to make sure that OBS Studio, which I'll show you how to get to and stuff in a second, if it'll launch. Thank you. So you need to make sure that that's up to date. You can go up here to Tools. This is really annoying, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Well, whatever. Go up here to Tools. And then where is it? There, help check for updates. There you go. I actually have a new update available, so I can do update now. So you can see that it says it's checking for available updates. So we have that running. And so we need to make sure that all that stuff is perfectly done and everything. So in Streamlabs OBS, if you decide to use Streamlabs instead of regular OBS, oh look what it says. Oh, Streamlabs OBS updater. Yes, we want to update that too. Since Streamlabs OBS and OBS Studio are kind of the same thing, they should have the same updates relatively at the same time. So next program that you want to update is VLC Media Player, and make sure that that's all good. I didn't know that was there. And so that's just in help, check for updates. And you'll see this, and you'll say you have the latest version of VLC Media Player. Alright, so you can click close and close. The next thing is very important, but we kind of already mentioned, is your driver updates. So once you download that file from the NVIDIA or AMD software, you'll be downloading an app similar to GeForce Experience. GeForce Experience on NVIDIA and Radeon Tuner or something on AMD. I don't know exactly, but I actually currently have mine set to Game Ready Driver. But if I have Studio Driver, you can see that I have a Studio Driver available. So I need to click download, and then once that is special installation, I'm not going to do that now because that's going to take too long and it's going to bog down my computer. So after we do that, and all your things are updated and ready to go, the next thing that we need to set up is YouTube. So we need to go to YouTube. And I'm going to set up this YouTube channel for you with some of the settings that you need to do. You need to make sure that in channel and feature eligibility that you have features that require phone verification enabled. You need to make sure once you do this, it'll say verify phone number. You'll have to enter your phone number. It'll send you a text. After that, you have to wait 24 hours in order to start streaming. You can set some of this. Most of this basically is just there. Basically that's all you have to do. There's not too much in there. The only thing that you need to know is that whenever you create a stream, which I'll show you how to do that in a second, but just for example, we'll just make an immediately stream. You need to make sure that you paste this stream key that you'd get with every stream into your OBS. So I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. So the next thing that we need to talk about is also semi-relatable, and that is thumbnails and overlays. I'll pull up a stream for you, but in a typical stream, you will see that I have, we'll do this for example. In the beginning, I'll mute my mic, but I have this splash screen, I have intermissions, like see I have this intermission, and I make all of these with different websites, and so something that's very important is knowing how to make thumbnails and everything so that they are nice and fresh and everything. So I make all of my stuff in Google Drawings. Sorry. So let's just look at what an example one would be. Okay, so this is an example of a YouTube thumbnail that I created for one of the streams that I did. It was the high school winter band concert. So you notice that you have several important things here that you would need to know. Obviously, the title of the stream, when it is happening, and then maybe something that's good to know about it. This isn't always required, but on this one, I put the bands that were featured in that concert. I also added a little bit of decor so that and then I added this logo and it'll kind of grab your attention as well. But the main thing is that it grabs your attention and it looks pleasing, because people are going to see this if you make the stream beforehand, which you should, and I'll teach you how to do later. Another thing that you noticed is that I have Winter Band Concert YouTube thumbnail, and then I have an OBS thumbnail. And so this is a slightly different version of the thumbnail that I use for the stream. And so I will take this and I'll download it. I'll add an animation here, which I'll show you how to do that in just a second. And then I'll use that for OBS and as like a intermission, and then the starting of the stream and everything. So that's basically how you use Google Drawing. It's pretty simple. They don't have to be super complicated. My first ones were just title, when it was, and a background photo. That's all. That was my first ones basically. They didn't look too good, but I've gotten some experience from it. So this is a blue box with a gray border on it, and then just white text. Image that you find off of Google, as well as other images that you find off of Google, and then a logo for this one. Event thumbnails are a bit different anyway, so you may not need this, and if you can find some of these extra graphics, you can. Let me pull up if I can find it real quick. There we go. This was like a thumbnail that I used for a stream, and this one's very basic, but it was just in BJHS induction, Tuesday, September 1st at 6 p.m. in BJHS logo. That's it, and then with this in the corner. That's not required, but like, okay, whatever. It's definitely not required, but it's just something that I added. And plus the time code like amount of time after it's a video, the amount of time that the stream lasted will show up there anyway, covering most of that up. So that's how I do that. So now I will show you how to use the best loader software that I know to add like an animation here for the stream. So first I will download this file, download as PNG. I'll just redo that, and I'll just save this to downloads folder. And then I will go to Canva, yes, the website that you use to make all kinds of things. You can see all the things that I've created. That's embarrassing. So we'll just create a design. And we'll start with an image since we have ours. and we'll select our image. It'll upload, and then edit image is what we want to do. And so now we have this photo in Canva, and now we need to add a stream to it, or add a animator to it. So you can go to Elements, and then I just searched up Loader, and that's all that is, or loading. That was weird. Okay. So here's all these loaders that you can choose from. There's several of these that are really cool. Some of them are not. Like this one looks really cool. The only thing that I don't like about it, and this is obviously my opinion, is that the stream isn't loading. It's just waiting for it to start. So that's why I don't like to use loading. But there's all kinds of these. I used for the stream, I used this one, and then for the actual stream I used this, and then I scaled it down to size. That's way too small. Something like that. It's a bit smaller actually, but something like that. And then since this one's white, you don't necessarily have to do this, but I just put a shape underneath it. I'll make sure they're the same size. You can see, like, so this one's 163, so now it matches this one. We'll bring this backward, and we'll change it to like a blue, and then I put a transparency on it, and boom, you're done. Like, it's pretty much that simple after you line it up and not have it off center. Yeah, this part's not always required, and it's definitely not necessary at all, but it just makes the stream look better. And these are just things that I've learned through just through doing this a while. So you don't have to do like all of this crazy stuff that is like super time complicated and stuff, and it takes a lot of time, but you just want to experiment. That's the main thing about live streaming, is experimenting and adding more stuff and getting better each time. So now that you have this, you can basically just do download. I did a GIF last time, graphic image formatting, I think. And then you just click download. It'll prepare your design. And then you can just save it as Untitled Design or whatever, and then you can use that, and I'll show you how to use that later whenever I do the OBS portion of this. Other websites that you can use. There's so many other websites. There's a ton of them that I've seen. You can use WeVideo. You can use Digital Juice if you have a subscription for that. Or you can even just not have a thumbnail. I'm not sure if it's exactly required. Actually, that might not be true. But anyway, you don't have to have like a fancy overlay or whatever. But and you don't have to use the ways that I used to do it. It's completely up to you, and you do what you want to do, and that's just what it. And it's just whatever. It doesn't mean you don't have to make a super nice one like I kind of did, but you can just make something. Let's see if I can find a real quickly as one that I did a long time ago. There we go. This is all I did for most of last year, with the first year that I started doing live streaming. A red box, like when A team and B team starts and what time is it. All I did. So yeah, you don't have to make it super fancy. And this one I just used Google Drawings. I didn't even add an animation for it, and I just typed waiting for stream to start in like an Arial font. It was terrible, but that's what that is. So the next thing is to actually open up OBS. I'm gonna use OBS for this tutorial. Streamlabs OBS is fairly similar, and most of the things are kind of in the same places. But I like to use OBS. I think it's better. So there's that. In order to download OBS, you need to go to obsproject.com and download it from their website. Just go Windows or whatever platform you use, and then just go Windows, and then it'll automatically download. Simple as that. That's how you do it. You install it, and then you're good. There's that. So when we start, you need to make a new scene collection. So that's up here in scene collections. Get rid of this. I don't need this anymore. Scene collection. You're just going to do new. We're going to do, for me, I'm just going to do live streaming guide 1, because I already made one. But there you go. That's your scene. You also need to make a new profile. And I'm going to name it School 1, because I already did that. We're not going to do that. Okay, so now you have the basic setup for that. Scene collection, you made a new scene collection, and a new profile. So first thing that we need to do is get the settings correct. So down here in the bottom in controls, we can see this settings button. We need to click on that. So there's a couple things that we need to make sure that we check. I would check that just so that you don't have to worry about that. We want to check these two boxes, show confirmation dialog when starting stream, so that we don't accidentally click it whenever you're in the middle. Automatically record during streaming, that's definitely something that you need to have on, because you always want to have a backup of your stream on a high capacity drive, typically a hard drive, so that if something happens, then you can always do something with it. You always have a backup. And then let's see, is there anything else that's here? Yeah, there's nothing else in general. In stream, this is where you need to connect your stream key, like I told you back whenever I was talking about YouTube. So we're going to change our service to YouTube RTMP. And so then we will, if we went back to that page that I showed you, I'm not going to show you this because if you decide to use this, then that would be bad. But you just click copy on your stream that you set up, but I'll show you how to set that up in a little bit. And then you paste it, and then just do apply and apply. Just don't click OK, because you're gonna mess with all this stuff too. Output. You need to make sure that your video bitrate is anywhere between 2500 and 6000, depending on how good your computer is, basically. Is how much bitrate you can send, or really how much internet connection you have is how much you can send. I go with 4500 because that's kind of the middle ground, and I think it's good enough. The recording path, set to a path where you have lots of space. So like a flash drive or a SD card is not what you want, because these can, depending on the what type of thing you're doing, they could be like dozens of gigabytes in size. That stream that I showed you earlier, the Winter Band concert, was 20 gigabytes for the backup recording. So I'm going to go with local disk D. That is in my computer, that is a 256 gig SSD. And it doesn't have too much on it, so it's perfect. You may want to use a hard drive if you want to, though. That's okay, it doesn't really matter. Recording quality, I would just set to high quality. Unless for some reason you don't have a very good CPU, in which you don't need to do that. Recording format, MP4. It's saying whenever it says the warning right here, that is not necessarily not necessarily helpful to us, because it's not going to do too much. Encoder, oh yeah, encoder, I forgot to mess with encoder. Encoder up in streaming and in recording needs to both be set to hardware NVENC. That is NVIDIA, your graphics card's encoding, and that is the best encoder. Click apply, and we'll move on to the next one. Basically, that's just the best one. You don't need to worry about that. YouTube likes the sample rate of 44.1 kilohertz. It's saying that you have to restart that for the change to take effect. So yeah, you just need to make sure that you need to set that to 44.1. Stereo channel, just make sure that you don't have anything more than stereo, because you don't have like any high quality things that you can't really do anyway. If this is enabled, make sure you disable it. You don't need any of these global audio devices. And then your monitoring device, you could use if you want to monitor something. So if I'm going to set it to my headphones, then I can do that. So that way, if I show, and I'll show you how to do this, but if I want to like preview what audio my thing is going to, preview what my stream sound is like on specific audio channels, then I need to set that to whatever monitor device I need to do. If you're going to do this, make sure that's unchecked. Click apply, and then go to video. Aha, let's see, what is this? That is crazy town. So you need to set both of these to 1920 by 1080. This is the default, and unless you want to go 4K for some reason, which doesn't make any sense, because you're probably not going to do too much of that anyway, then you could do that. Plus, the capture card that I would recommend buying, that's like 15 bucks, only goes to 1080p maximum, and it also only goes to 30 FPS. So 30 FPS is the common FPS values. That's the only thing you need to do. You don't need to change any of that. Hotkeys. So when we go into OBS, sometimes we need to transition and change some things, but we don't need to like actually change it on like the stream, because that's very bad. And so I'll show you how to do that in a little bit after we create some scenes and stuff, but right now it's not really going to do anything. Advanced. Oh yes, in general advanced, you need to make sure that the process priority is set to high. It doesn't need to be set to normal. We need it set to high because it's the most important thing of our stream. Other than that, it should be about good. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all you need to do in advanced. So now you click apply, you click OK. Because we changed that audio, it says we're going to restart, so we should do that. And so then we can now start creating our stream. So alright, so let's create a example scene for real quick sake. We're gonna do add scene right here. That you have your scenes, and then you have your sources. So your sources go inside of your scenes to create what you have. So let's create a new scene, and we're gonna call it our camera scene. So we have our camera scene. So now inside our camera screen or scene, you see that there is nothing here, like because we don't know what we want to do. So we need to go into sources, and we need to click the plus button underneath the sources tab and add what we want. So if we want to add a camera, if you take a guess through all these, you're going to probably figure out that we're going to want the one that has the camera icon. That's a video capture device. And we're going to call this camera. Now note that if I click this, it says the name's already in use, because the scenes and the sources cannot be the same thing. So I'm actually just going to name it cam, so they're a bit different but still referencing the same thing. And so now, hey, hello. So now you see me. And so you can go through all these settings. If you need to change the resolution, you usually need to go into custom. I'll disappear for a second, but you just change your resolution. I guess this camera's only 720p and 30 FPS, and there you go. And this is why I don't have my camera on, is because it's like flashing or whatever. And so there you go. And then you have that. I could stretch it with those buttons, and then like I think if you hold shift, you can like stretch it and do all kinds of crazy stuff with it. Whenever you right click it, there's several things that you can do. One of the things that you can do is you can set the color for the actual thing down here. So I don't ever actually use this, but like, hey look, it's green, super cool. You can also right click this as well, and it's the same thing as we're clicking on that. Rename it, remove it. Order, you can move up and move down if you have multiple scenes. You could do that, but you could also just drag these. Let's just do that right now. So if we add a audio input capture device, because that's probably what you're going to need with the camera as well. That's your audio. And so we're just going to select my headset, and there we go. Now my stream headphones are, you're hearing them and the stream is hearing them. But if we want to set them to be audio input capture to be underneath for some reason, even though that's not like what you would typically do, because like it doesn't really matter, then you could just drag them. You don't have to do order or whatever. Transform is very important. Whenever you click edit transform, you can see all these little boxes, and so this is the way that you crop your thing. If you want to change it so that it gets cropped, then you can do this, and you can see over on this side that it is slowly but surely cropping the that side. So you can set it to like 300 or whatever. You can type all this, and then top is 500. That's too far, so we can go 350. That's still too far. We can go 200. That's not enough. We can go 300, and there we go. And then right is probably 300, 350. So this is basically just trial and error until you get close enough or exactly where you want to be. So I can hold the arrow from super close, and there we go. Now I have my face as a stream. So there we go. Get rid of that. Okay, that didn't work. There. That I just did delete button and then enter. So now what I want to show you is studio mode. So I'm actually going to add that back. Whoops, I apologize. So now you can see under controls you have studio mode, and you can see that we now have two different things that you can do. And you'll see all these different things and that we can look at. So now we can freely switch between different scenes, so I can do whatever I want to this scene. Add like a text or something, and we can say hi world, whatever we want, and then do this. Nothing will actually happen because this is the program, what's going on to YouTube, and this is your preview, whatever you can do to it. And I think, if I remember correctly, yes, I have all these boxes checked. You might want to do that too. But I could even like remove this, and it won't happen. It won't affect that at all until I transition over there, and then I can go back here and transition. And so these are our transitions that we can do. There are just three. There is cut, and so if I go here and go to the high world, you can see cut cuts immediately to the scene. It doesn't like fade in like the fade does, obviously, because that's what fade means. So fade, you can say how long it is right here. Whenever you click the arrow, you can just change it here. And then you can also go fade to black, and then fade out, fade to black, fade out, and then you can like go up there and then fade, and then select your camera scene and fade up there. Yeah. And then you also have your slider here, so if you had to and get like a really long transition or something. You can see that it's slowly going in. There you go. So that's how you do transitions. So now, as I told you before, we can go ahead and set hotkeys to these. So I can go into settings, and I can go into hotkeys, and you can see that we now have quick transition cut, quick transition fade, and quick transition fade to black. So I can set these to whatever I want. The keyboard that I currently have right now does not have a numpad, like a 10-digit numpad. It's just 65% keyboard. But I like to use num0, num1, and num2, or num2 and num3. And that way, it does not interfere with the actual numbers or OBS. So pick keys that are good for you. Like I said, this keyboard is not a good example of that. But so now, like, if I press the 0 key on my keyboard, it's going to cut, 2, fade, 3 is fade to black. So yeah, just experiment with that. I highly recommend doing that as well. So then the other thing that you can do is do extra things inside of OBS, and so you can like add like a YouTube chat. So if you see here, if we were actually going live, you can do live chat, whatever, live chat, pop out chat, and you can see that we now have a live chat popped out. It is popped out. So now it also see that it's a link, and so we could copy that link and paste it into here so that we don't have to go back and forth between like OBS and Chrome or whatever. I will also say that it's very nice whenever you have 2 or sometimes 2-ish monitors, 2 or more monitors whenever you have it, so that way you can have your OBS open all the time and then like a Google Chrome tab open. I currently have my laptop on the other side with my notes and stuff. But I can go to View, Docs, Custom Browser Docs, and so now I can use YouTube chat, and then you could paste the URL of that. You click apply, and now you have a chat directly in OBS, and you can move it inside of OBS wherever you want. You can pin it like right here, or you can put it right here. I typically put it right here. It'll obviously make your stream smaller, so there's that, but it will give you a live chat. So what I typically do is I typically remove this, and so scene transitions, because you have those up there. So what I would do is I just go right click on this and then just do scene transitions and then check that. And then I would also have a YouTube thing right here, like the actual YouTube stream right there that you could use. But other than that, that's about everything you need to know there. Now we're going to talk about other programs that you need, that you might want for your stream on your phone. And I have a situation where on my phone where I don't, and during band concerts at least, I have to play in band concerts. I play trombone, so I can't play necessarily whenever my group is playing. So the best way to do that that I've found is to get an app on your phone. So I'm going to pull up an image on Google right here, but there is an app called Stream Control, and I should be able to turn on Alright, so Screen Recorder is an app that you can use to add your computer to your link it to your phone, and then you can control your stream with your phone. So I have that here. Stream Recorder is an app that you can use to link your phone with your OBS so that you can use it to record and like control your stream with your phone. And so what I did whenever I was with my band concerts is I was controlling the stream while I was playing my music, which is kind of funny to watch. But in order to link this up, you have to download stuff and whatever, and if I could find a video how to like set it all up, I'll link it. But now, as you can see, I now have a super easy way, and I can zoom in a bit, of doing like changing what I need. So you can see that I have my camera scene, and you can see on screen that showed up to preview. And then I could have my other scene. So I have two scenes, and then I could do execute transition, and then I have that. I can change over to cut right here, and just change cut, and then camera. So now it just does this, and it's pretty good at actually doing that. I like the latency of that, so I can press it now, and it just did it. So like it's pretty much real time, and so that's amazing. This is a free app, although I removed the ads from it, which costs $2. So there's that, but to install the app and use it is free, and so that's what I love about that. So the next thing that I have to talk about is Streamlabs OBS, and basically it's the exact same thing. I just don't like to use it because I think it's over-intuitive for what I use, because like I don't need all of these I don't need all of the options that Streamlabs presents, like like integration with Twitch chat and whatever. That's what this is made for, is so that you can do something like that. But I mean, I don't need that, right? Because we're not streaming in Twitch chat, we're not integrating overlays and whatever. But that's what you can do here. But it's basically the same thing. Even the settings look mostly the same. You have your general stream, output audio, video, hotkeys, advanced. This is basically the only thing that's different. You have your record button, you have your go live button. I didn't show you that, I should do that. But like, basically, it's the same thing. If you want to use that, then feel free. It's just the same thing. You just need to basically see what you want to use and what works best for you. Both of those programs are free, and you can use them whenever you would like to do, and you can experiment at home. Like, this is my personal computer that I'm using, and I have both of those programs on there. I have all the programs that you need on there, because I still do stream with my band concerts. I stream on my personal laptop. Real quickly, start streaming's there, start recording's there. That's all I needed to say. There's that. Once I do this, do I want to start the stream? No, I don't, because that's going to a channel that's actually has a lot of people on it. Okay, so now I'm going to give you an example stream of how I make a stream from start to finish. All the things that I do before I go live. And so I'm going to go through all of these events, all of these tasks, and we're going to make a stream in as little time as possible. So the first thing is picking the right event and what event you want to live stream. Now, I don't want to offend people, so the best way to say this is that you don't want to stream anything that doesn't want to be seen unless you're already there. So for some things, I'm not going to say anything in particular, but I'm going to guess that you can figure those things out, that you don't need to stream them, because if you really want to see them, you're going to be there. Because that's just how the sport works, or the event works. But there are a few things, especially if you're in them, that you would want to stream. Like if you're part of the program, then you might want to stream them, and it's a bit, and I get it would be more enticing for you to stream to them, and that's perfectly fine. It's completely up to you what you want to stream, even though some people will make you do it, but some people will just ask, or you might just want to ask and do it. It just depends on what you want to stream. So picking the right event is basically just whether you want to stream or who's making you stream. If someone's making you stream, then you kind of have to do it, which is fine with me. I always love to stream whatever they ask me to. And then whatever else I wanted to stream, such as any basketball games and stuff like that. But it completely is up to you. The next thing I have to talk about is equipment placement, which leads me to a story where I had a basketball game one day, and there was a teacher, which I will leave in private, that said that I don't like you being here in this specific spot on the right next to the score booth table, because I can't see the basketball game and like who's scoring points and whatnot. And I said, okay, kind of, like I don't really know what to do. Sucks to be you, I guess. I don't know, but I didn't say that out loud, obviously. But I'm like, then she was like, what can we do to make it work? And so we ended up moving me slightly and like shifting me over a bit. And so basically, you need to be out of the way from everybody else, while still having the best spot that you can have. Like, you don't. One time in the BJHS induction that I did, I was I was in the back of the room, but I was in the center of the room, so it was a bit awkward having everything be behind and very visible. But that's just how I did it, and it still worked fine. So basically, in my notes I have it really good. The equipment needs to be placed where it's best for you and best for everybody else. I won't say everybody, because not everybody may like where you are, but most people, the majority of people will like where you are, where your setup is, because you take up a lot of room. It was hard I used to have like an old folding cart table, and I'll add an image here of what that looked like. But it was rough. I really didn't like it too much. I liked it better whenever I had a table that I had everything set on, because that was easier for me. But for something like a basketball game, it would be nice to have something smaller like that. So that's basically equipment placement. Camera placement. I'm gonna assume that you have like 2 cameras two main cameras that are showing different places. You don't always have to have that. You can have one camera. You can have three cameras. It doesn't matter. But I would just look at what your primary view is and what your secondary view is. And a lot of that actually comes down to, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but like which one is your better camera. You have to make sure that if you decide the two spots that you want to place your camera, which one needs to be the higher quality camera, which may not always be what you think. It may not be the one that's just, oh yeah, it's the one that's up higher on top. That may not always be what you want. I had, for the winter band concert, which I'm basing this on once we get down to like the specific stuff, I had one camera that was in the middle, and that was my main camera. It was in the middle, and I moved it around. It was on this giant 13-foot tripod that was super awesome. And we did that. But then we actually had one that was in the stands that was a very poor quality camera, and you saw it earlier. And we should have not have used that camera. That camera was not very good. But it had... it technically had the higher placement as if we didn't have that giant tripod. So basically, my main point is that as long as you have everything that you need to see in focus, or you can have somebody there to pan your camera so that it can be all in focus and in the frame, it doesn't really matter where your camera is. It just matters as long as nobody asks you, because like on the band concert, for the two jazz ensembles that played, they Mr. Jarrett, the band director at the high school, wanted to have a side camera basically and put our main camera out to the side and have this really cool side shot shown here. But as long as it gets everything in frame and you pick the right cameras and you have enough cameras, you can place cameras basically wherever you want. The other thing I have to say is make sure they're not in the way. Like I said back in equipment placement, it's best for you and everyone else. But for cameras, another aspect of that is also best for the stream. Is it best for the stream? And that's your main priority, even though it's also so I guess on this one there you could have a scale of stream priority, personal preference, what you want to have, because whatever you do basically goes, and then everyone else. Because if there's a giant pole sticking up in the middle of someone's view, they're not going to like it, but worst case scenario, they have to move. Big deal. So that's basically all that camera placement entails. The next section is equipment check. So you have to ask yourself different questions. Do I have everything I need? Does everything work? And right now I'm going to pull up a document that I'm linking in the description below. And it is a list of all the questions that I came up with during my 8th-hour class of what you need to make sure that everything happens every time before a stream. Because if some of this is like obvious stuff and like stuff that you should figure out a long time before your stream, and some of it is present, like what you need to do right before you start streaming. So I'm going to go ahead and read through all of it, but it's a Google Doc file. I have it in the description. You can print it off for each stream if you want to, or you can not. It's your choice. It doesn't really matter. So, is everything plugged in and secured? Are all cables plugged in into the correct places? Are all plugs properly secured? Are all cables secured and trip hazard free? Are all cameras on and facing in the correct position? Are all cameras secured? Do all cameras have a charger or a battery? If the camera does have a battery, is the camera battery mostly charged? Do you have new cameras ready to swap if needed? Do you have the stream pulled up on another computer or monitor? Do you have the stream key entered? Do you have a place to store a backup recording? Does the storage device have enough space of your recording? Have you stopped all unnecessary programs in Task Manager? Do you have all programs and drivers installed? Is the equipment safe and is far away from bumps and danger? Do you have camera operators if needed? Do you have a method of communication with them? Is everything in OBS in the right spots and in your personal spots? Have you advertised the stream? Have you made the stream on YouTube? Have you checked the OBS settings? Have you checked the YouTube settings? Have you performed a test stream? Does the computer have a suitable internet connection? Do you have all of the necessary equipment? Do you have any backup equipment if there is a failure? Do you have all of the audio equipment set up and working? Is your phone charged? Is everything turned to silent mode? Have you checked the audio on a recording? Have you added an audio delay? So that's the list that I came up with. Now, this is also some things where you may not need all of this, like for an event and not like a basketball game, for example. Camera operators are not required for most times. You just need to have it face one way and you don't hardly have to move it. But like for a basketball game, we wanted to have a close-up shot, and so we had to paint it. And we had to get a journalism student to do that for us. But basically all of this is there, and some of it may not even be what you expect. Like, for example, is your phone charged? This was a deal that was important to me, that I had my phone with me so that my parents or other teachers can text me and say, hey, the stream's not working correctly. Just wanted to let you know. And also something that I've encountered before is that my phone was turned to silent mode and not vibrate mode. So actually I should change that turned to silent or vibrant mode, because one time I had the audio completely wrong and people were texting me like crazy, but I had my phone on silent and nobody texted it in the YouTube chat, so I had no idea until like halfway through the show, and I really did not like that. So that didn't work too well for us, but yeah, you just have to make sure that you have a method of communication with the other people that are watching it, or else you will have no idea if something goes wrong, which does happen more often than not. So like I said, I'll include this checklist in the description, and it's a great tool to use. I know I technically haven't used it because I made it the other day, but it should be a great tool to use for you to check off whenever you start live streaming. So now we are going into the fun part. We are going into the OBS portion of this stream. Example stream. Alright. So now we are going to go to an example stream. So I gotta open that back up. But I'm going to recreate my high school stream for the Winter Band concert from start to finish, explaining what I do in as little time as possible, because this video has gone long enough already. So we're going to create a new one. We're going to do live guide HS Winter Band Concert. So I just created a new scene collection. I'm going to go ahead and go back to that and delete these. Remove. Yes. And then I'm going to go to the other one that I had, live streaming guide. Remove. Yes. So now we are going back to live guide HS Winter Band Concert and we are starting fresh. So the first thing that we need to do is, oh yeah, also note that I will have most of this done for me already, because as you can see, I'm recording this on the 27th, and the actual stream was like 18 days ago on the 19th. So, the 19th of December. So I will have most of this stuff already here. So I will set this stream to this first time to stream start. And so then I will go over to here and I will add a media source, and that's how we're going to do our GIF files, image files. Actually, yeah, so stream start GIF. And then, so we're going to browse our files, and for me, you're just going to find your file. So I have it right here. Since this is a GIF, I want to loop. I want to use hardware decoding when available, and I want to leave that unchecked. And I click that, and then I click cut. And then there. I'm actually going to turn off studio mode since we don't need that functionality for now. And so there I have that. That is our start that is what people are going to see whenever people are coming to our stream. And that way they know that their video isn't lagging, and that's why I have the animation there. Another thing that I want to add is music, and that is why VLC video source, VLC media player is so important, is because it adds a video source in OBS, which is amazing. So I can do that, and I can do music, and I will add a link in the description to a guy who creates music for live streams that is completely free to use, and it doesn't give you copyright claims and stuff. So I'm going to add files, and in my folder I have it all here. It's 30 songs in this album. It's original. Loop it. We're going to shuffle it, and there you go. So now you have your music inside of OBS. So there's that. So something that if we want to do, just for fun, not necessarily, is if we wanted to listen to this and make sure it is right and it sounds good, is you can click on the music settings right here. So you have your music, and then you have your settings for this audio mixer down here. And then you can go to advanced audio properties, and then you can see all of these. You have your different tracks, you have your offset, which I'll show you how to use in a second. And then you have your music tab, and you can set monitoring to monitor and output. And so if you did this all correctly, you should be able to hear it, except I don't, so there's that. But there we go. I had yes. So now you can see that it's not actually, like, it's way too loud. Dial it back. Every 6 decibels in here, these are decibels, all these numbers, is half of the volume. So I have it half of a half, so I have it at a quarter volume. And so I can go all the way down. But actually right now I can't hear it at all. So about 13 decibels or so. That's pretty good. And so that's all we need for the stream start. Is music and that. We do not want to add our audio source yet, because I'm actually going to turn that off. So next we need to add is our intermission scene. intermission. I added that there. Why did I do that? So now it's basically going to be the same thing. Media source, intermission, GIF, add it, and then go and find that. Check the 2 boxes, and there we go. Now, something that we can do is, since we have the music already in there, and we don't have to create it again, we can just go to VLC video source, and then you can see add existing, and then you can click music, and then you can click OK, and bam, your music's already in this one. And that's all you need to do for the intermission. And so now, last thing we're going to do is stream end. And we are going to do the exact same thing. Alright, so now, I like to separate my scenes with some dashes. So this is just going to have a dash. Bop. And there we go. We now have a blank slate, and we can separate those top scenes with something else. So now, for this event, I'm going to make a main camera with camera and audio, but I'm not going to add any overlays, and it's not going to have any special effects or anything. It's just going to be the plain, just the plain thing. So we are going to add main camera. If I can spell, main cam. Add video capture device. That's how we add our cameras. And then, since I can't name it main cam, it's great. Hey, look, there I am again. Alright, there's that. We stretch that out to fit that, and then now we're going to add our audio source. For this one, I had a Zoom H6 as our audio source, but since we don't have that here, and that costs a lot of money that I don't need to spend it on, I'm just going to set that to my headphones. So, on this stream, actually, in particular, I had a second camera as well. If I can spell again. So now I'm going to add another video capture device. We're going to do second camera. However, you cannot create sources with the same webcam. The webcams and your capture cards with your cameras can only go to one scene, to one source, and to one program. You cannot do multiple programs at once. So I'm going to set it to OBS Virtual Camera, and it's just going to show this because we don't have Virtual Camera used or whatever. We don't need to use it. So, but now we can just have a difference between first and second. So now, that's all the cameras we had for that stream. So I'm going to add this one, another break, except this time it's going to be 2, since you can't have the same scene. And so now we're going to add our lower thirds that I have. I'm only going to do one of these because there's no reason for me to do more than one. As I created lower thirds for the for each band and what the song was called and whatever. So I'm gonna do Foundry because that's one of the pieces that we played. Lower third. We could spell it out, or we could do LT. Well, actually, no. This is, yeah. Well, actually, no. We need to create a new scene first. I keep my scenes like abbreviated or whatever. I like to keep it full length and as much length as I can, because I want to see, oh yeah, Foundry, but not like, oh yeah, what does GCB whatever mean? And I'll show you what I mean in a second because I'll pull up the actual scene collection that I used. But um, so under Foundry, we're going to add our video source. Remember, we have to add our existing main camera. I use my main camera for that. And we're going to use our main existing audio input capture. By the way, audio input is like audio in, and then your audio out is what's coming out. Of like, so if you're doing a tutorial like this and you're using OBS, I'm using a separate program, so we don't have issues with that. We would use audio output capture, and but most of this other stuff is self-explanatory as well. So we have a camera, we have our audio. Now we need to add our lower third that I have, and so I'm going to add a new media source. That's like your friend, and this is what you'd use for single videos, like this. So I'll go into high school lower thirds, and I'll pick the right one. It'll be right here. I'll check this box, and then I'll do that. So you can see that I now have this file that I created, and it looks fine, except for obviously the glaring fact that it is underneath a green screen. That's what you have to use in order to add lower thirds, because video sources do not work with green screens. Like green screen or video sources can't have a transparent background. You have to put a green screen underneath them. So in order to do that, I'm going to replay this right here. And so we're going to right click on it. We're going to go to filters, and we're going to add a filter to it. We're going to add a chroma key, and because that's how you do that. And bam, like almost instantly, for this one there's no tweaking involved. It's just instantly there. So now we have our main camera. We'll go to studio mode now. We'll have our main camera, we'll have our Foundry, which doesn't look the same, and then you're like, and now we're gonna play Foundry, and then we'll fade, and there you go. So something that's very important that I've learned, and I've done by mistake many times, is that once this is all done, we go to second cam to like switch between while they're playing and whatever, and we're gonna cut to second cam, and we're going to wait a little bit, and now we're going to cut to first cam, except we're not. We're going to cut back to that scene, and it's super annoying because you don't want that to show up again. So I'm going to go over here, if that actually happens again, and we want to go back to main cam. And not go back to, and not stay in Foundry. We're going to go to main cam, and now we can do whatever we want with that. So that's what you need to do. That's what I did for this band concert. Obviously for this is a little bit different than like a basketball game. So like you wouldn't use all of this. You basically have stream start, like halftime, timeout, intermission, stream end. That's all you'd use. So I'll bring you over to the actual winter band concert, and I just realized that is an output. But you can see I had this up here because I had all of these scenes that I used. I also had an intro video that I used. I didn't share that before. That's just another video media source. And so I had all these that I used. We'll set our main camera to HD webcam, and second webcam will be blank. So we have this, and then we just do cut, and it's not showing anything, probably because it can't find that file anymore. But oh, there we go. It found this file. So there's that. Basically. It's just a bunch of repeats, and so yeah, there's a reason why I did not want to make all this for you guys, but it's basically the same thing. You also notice that I have to add different things for the intermissions and the blank slots, and the blank slots I actually do fill intermissions with stuff. And I do always try to keep a black scene, and I labeled it ... black. So yeah, that's how you make a, more or less, that's how you make a
OBS stream.
Alright, so now that you've learned how to use OBS, we're going to talk about a few things about just getting the stream set up in general. We're going to talk about things to do after the stream ends, things that you should do in some events, and then we will wrap it up. Um, so, first thing that we have to talk about is audience engagement. Audience engagement is very important to the quality, or you could maybe even say like the worth of your stream. That's not really how that's supposed to work, but the quality and the engagement of your stream depends on how complex it is. Basically, that's just how it works. And even though I wish you could just throw up a camera and have a great stream, have like lots of people view it, but in order to make your stream fun, entertainable, and engaging and everything, you have to add different things, such as lower thirds, as I showed you before, multiple cameras and multiple camera angles, and that you switch between throughout the show, and chat engagement and information. The last one's very important as well. I'm going to talk about that one for a second, because you may want to say, for example, on the junior high concert, winter band concert, there was an hour intermission, 45-minute intermission between the two bands. So I wanted to let everybody know that was watching the stream, which was a lot of people, hey, there's an hour intermission because they have to sanitize everything due to COVID-19. We'll be back at 8 o'clock. And that's all I said. And then there's a lot. I started doing a bunch of other things, and the chat got kind of out of hand. But information and engagement is always good for your stream, and it helps it a lot. Um, and then just multiple camera angles, lower thirds, just extra stuff that you can do. If you can, just makes the stream look better. Um, so before the stream starts, that's our next topic, and basically that one's just advertise the stream, like I showed you before. Um, so we'll do that now. We're going to do an example advertising, which I have done. And we are going to, in order to advertise your stream, you're going to click on create under your YouTube studio. You're going to click go live. And then you're going to click schedule stream up here. You can reuse info if you want to. Or you can click create new. I always just click create new. I'm going to title it BHS Winter Band Concert 2020. Not with O's. I'm going to set it to private because I'm going to click create stream in a second, and we don't want that to actually go out. And I'm going to type in a big description. And I'll show you how big the description was. And that because I write descriptions, at least for these, showing all the pieces featured. I write this little thing. Live stream of the Branson High School 2020 Winter Band Concert performed by Branson Bands. The concert is on Friday, December 18th, 2020, starting at 6 p.m. That's kind of what we wrote in our thumbnail as well. So we put it in a lot of different places. The stream will start at a quarter till the concert starts. That's another thing that I need to talk about, is that starting the stream beforehand, like 15 minutes before the event. Don't start it once they say welcome and whatever, because it takes about a minute in order for everything to start actually going. And then I talk about the band, all the bands that were featured, and then just we hope you enjoy their performances. I put all their pieces in there. I also put an advertisement for the junior high winter band concert, which was taking place that Monday, the Monday afterward, and I included a link to that. Bit.ly is a website that you can use to shorten down links, and it's pretty self-explanatory, but there's a lot of other websites that you can do for that as well. I also included another advertisement for the fall band concert that they did. All of those are on the Branson Band's channel and whatnot. And also, if there's any music that I knew that was on there that needed credit, because you're supposed to, and I don't always do this, and I know that's not very good, but you're supposed to give credit for all of the music that you use. So like we added all of this so that we know who wrote all of these pieces that the band's played, and then for the intermission music and the introduction music and the ending music, we have this bit link that goes to the album. Very Lo-Fi Christmas was the one that we used. And I'll link that below, and this one too, because it's underneath this video as well. And then just an outro. We thank you again for listening to our bands, and we hope you enjoy them. Merry Christmas. So that's a long description, 1,800 characters. Get out of here. But yeah, 1,800 characters. Although I write them all, it's not that bad. So I'll just add this description as if I made this all at once, even though I didn't. So there you go. I did that. I set the category. So for this one, it's going to be under music. And then we're going to set a date and time. That works. Sunday, January 3rd, 2:55 p.m. That's just what this says, because they always set it to the nearest time. But it doesn't matter. We're going to upload a custom thumbnail. You always want to do that. And look at that. It's right up here. That's actually not the right one, because that's the OBS thumb. But I have it right here, HS YouTube, and then maybe it'll be in there. It's not in there. It doesn't matter. You get the point. You just upload your thumbnail. You set your videos made for kids. For most of your streams, they are not going to be made for kids, because made for kids is like videos that are entertaining for kids, which we are doing 13 and under, which we are technically doing it for 13-year-olds, but in order to do that, like it says, features like personalized ads and live chat will be available in live streams made for kids. Live chat is what I like about it, which is why I have it set to not made for kids. And I like live chat because, like, I could say, oh yes, greetings from overseas. One time I had a band concert person that said, I'm in the military, I'm overseas, and I'm watching your concert. And I'm like, this is so dope. This is the exact reason why I want to keep streaming. Age restriction, I sure hope that you don't need to do this. I don't know what you guys are streaming if you do, but I always set that to no. And then you click create stream. And there you go. And then you see, like I showed you before, you can click on it, and now you see that stream key. That's right in here, and you see your stream latency. I typically, as long as I have a good Ethernet connection, I put it to low latency, and then, yeah, that's what I do. Here's your chat and everything. So now I'm actually going to delete that because I'm not actually going to start streaming right now, but that is how you create the YouTube stream beforehand. Do you also want to advertise your stream? So for this concert, I emailed the principal at the high school, and I said, hey, we're having a stream today. Can you like post it on Twitter and Facebook and do all these little things so that you could advertise our stream? And he said, sure, whatever. And so we did that, and like on the junior high concert, Dr. Braun, the principal over there, sent out a mass text to all of the kids saying that we have a winter band concert, and I really appreciate that. That gives me such high respect for him. But obviously that for some things that may not be necessary. But it was nice to see that appreciation, and in return, we got a ton of views. I think that stream has about 1,700 views on it, which is close to our top views that I've done ever.
Another way I do it is with a projector. So both in the junior high and the high school, they have a projector or some sort of video board, and I add a link to the um, I'm sorry, like to the stream. Sorry, I got lost in thought there, but like this is the junior high concert, and I have the same thumbnail and everything. I don't include like what day it is and everything on the slides, but I say search Branson bands on YouTube or go to this direct link to the um, stream. So you can do that, and then also on the presentation, I just added their things, but their piece that they're playing, but that's definitely not necessary and sometimes not required. So basically, advertising your stream is very important, and if you don't advertise your stream, nobody will come because everybody will just think you're recording it for some random reason. Most people will think, unless you get a reputation like I do. And then the last thing to do before the stream starts is to check your stream list that I mentioned before. Your that stream list should become your new thing that you must check before you start your stream, because that has a bunch of things that I've learned over my dozen or so streams that I've done that is very useful information that you can use during the stream. Basically, during the stream, you need to make sure you moderate chat. So there are really sad people that curse words and just say a bunch of mean things to each other during an event, and I'm like, it's a high school, junior high event. Why do you need to be rude about it and say all these harmful things? And so I always remove them. And so I'm going to go to a stream that I have. Let's see here. So during the BJHS Winter Band concert, there was about an hour intermission, and it was not very good because we did all of this, and then the chat started piling up. It wasn't really good. So you can see, like, so if I wanted to say that this person, sorry, cheese, but that this person said a bad word or whatever, we wanted to delete him. So we want to right click on it, and we just click remove, and it's removed. And on this, it'll just say it's chat removed, and you can't do anything about it. If this person says it again, though, like it says another bad thing or something like that, and then you can do hide user on this channel, or you can also do report, because I don't like that. And then also on the stream, you can also put people in timeout. So if you say something bad, I'll typically put you in timeout and remove your thing, because that's just not cool. And timeout puts it makes you not able to comment for 5 minutes. And so I thought, well, that's fine. I think that's perfectly reasonable, and that's exactly what needs to happen for some people. And that way they know that, hey, we're watching you. So yeah, that's definitely not required either, but like, you just don't need that. Oh yeah, there's the chat replay. Please do not spam the chat. You'll be put in timeout. So yeah. The next thing that we need to talk about is after the stream ends, and that's a very important thing that we need to talk about, because after the stream ends, there's a very long list of things that you could do depending on the event, and that some people like from it. So the first thing is tear down. That's pretty simple. You want everything to be easily accessible if you need to, and everything neatly organized after you tear down. And you also want to do it as quickly as possible, because everybody else wants to get out of there, and they don't want to wait for you to go as slow. So just make sure you do it fastly and efficiently, as fast as possible and as efficient as possible. Because I would assume, especially if you did not go home after school, like I do more often than not, then it gets pretty tiring. So the next thing that you need to do is, if your stream is did not turn out the way you want, and did not and was like, oh man, we didn't have good connection whenever, since you recorded it, I hope you can re-upload it. And so I'll show you that you can actually, you can just say set this, click private, and then click save. I'm not going to do that, but you can set your stream to private, and then you can upload your own video with whatever edits you need to make in Premiere Pro or any editing software that you use, or if you think that it's just best if you re-upload it so that you don't have a stream delay or whatever. That's up to you, if you need to do that. So edit a video. So I've actually saved the BJHS Winter Band concert and everything that I do to YouTube on it until now. So whenever you edit the video for this specifically, I can split this up into the 3 bands, the 7th grade, the 8th grade concert, and the 8th grade honors. And then I can also remove the beginning, how many minutes are on this one? Like the beginning 3-4 minutes before we like actually start, and that just helps with actually once it's actually on the video, just to help with engagement and everything. So I'm gonna do that now. So you don't want to like trim out this first part and the last part immediately, because then you can't do anything else with it for a while. So we want to look at the different stream, like get out the different parts of the stream first. So as soon as the audio loads, we're going to trim it. And since I want to do the winter band concert, or I want to just do the regular 7th grade band, I'm not going to include this intro part. Make sure that's turned down. I'm going to start it about here, I think. Yep. I'm going to start it right here. So I'm going to click trim, and I did already. And then I just go right here. And then I use this scroll bar, and we're going to scroll to here-ish. Okay, right there. And so then we're going to zoom out. And we're going to click all this, and we're going to go until you can see where it says split, and you want to make sure that you show that. You may have to zoom in a bit in order to get it to right where your cursor was. And then you click preview right here, and then we will make sure everything's good. So we'll go back to the start. And then, since I have it back here, it's actually going to go up here. So that's good. And so then we have the end. And that's perfect. So now we're going to right click it, or we're going to just click on this, and we do save as new. And we're going to do 7th grade band performance, BJHS Winter Band Concert 2020. We are going to set it to private for now, and then we're going to set it to public later. And then we're also going to have to update the description. So once we get all this editing done, then we will then we'll go through that. Okay, so now we have that video saved, and that's going to take just a little bit to go through, but that's okay. So now we're going to go through this, and we're going to go to the end of that intermission. I told you that was long, but let's see. It's going to be somewhere around here. There you go. Okay, so that is the 8th grade concert band cut. Yep, and then it should stop in just a second. There you go, and that will be the end of the video. And so then we have that one. You click preview, and then you click save as new. Get rid of copy of 8th grade concert band. Set it as private. Click save as new. And then we're going to edit the trim again. We're going to zoom in. And then we're going to extend this to mostly the end. We're going to leave out all most of the ending stuff. There we go, that's a good ending. And then we go over here, and we go to about right there, maybe? I don't really know. Alright, that's a great stopping point. So I click preview, save as new. And we go to get rid of the 8th grade honors band. I put that performance. I forgot to put that at the other one, but that's okay. We can always edit it later since it's not published yet. 8th grade honors band performance. BJHS Winter Band Concert 2020. Say save as new. So now the final trim that we have to do is the beginning and end trim. And so we are going to do that. And then, yeah, so we can also split it so we can get rid of the intermission too. At least this long intermission. I'm not going to get rid of this small intermission, probably. But this is just so that you can get rid of all these intermission parts that we don't need to have. Okay, so we have that, and then we want to edit the trim to stop right there, and then we want it to go from to here to from right here So now we can preview that as well. See, so now that trim is too far. So now we'll preview that. So there we go. So now we have all of the 3 parts split together with the different cuts in between them. And so now we're going to click save. So it says, are you sure are you sure you want to do this? Because it might take a few hours for your changes to apply. And that is correct. It may take a long time, but YouTube works its magic, and it does it. At least I've seen it done by the end of the day. Or the next day. So that's going to process for a little bit, and that's fine. So now we have the 3 uploads. It says processing will begin shortly. That actually happens for a long time for some weird reason. So now we want to edit this. So we're just going to say a replay of the live stream of the Branson Junior High concert performed by Branson bands. We can get rid of like when it starts, because it doesn't need that. As well as the stream will start quarter till the concert starts, and then we can change this to be the band featured is Branson Junior High School's 7th grade band. And that's it, because that's the only one that's in this specific video. And so then you can do that. We have the pieces featured in order. And so now we are going to copy this one specifically, and we're going to paste it. And so now we're going to watch the full Branson Junior High School winter band concert here, and then we're just going to add a link there. So since I know exactly what it is, it's just going to be like that. So we want to add a link to the full concert right there. And then so there we go. We're going to click save, and then that should be everything for that. Oh yeah, we have to add a thumbnail. So I actually have not made the thumbnail yet, so I'm going to do that. So I'm going to go to my folder where I make all the thumbnails for things like this. And we're going to edit it a little bit. I gotta look at actually what the other ones were. Oh yes, okay, so then BJHS Winter Band Concert, and then I changed this to be 7th grade band performance. Let me double check that. That's what that was. Yeah, so I had put bands featured or that, but we could do that. Actually, I'm going to do that. So I'm going to back up a bit. And we're going to get rid of that. Set this to be a lot smaller. Actually a bit larger because it doesn't really matter. And then 7th grade band. There we go. This one we do not need a intermission or like a loader, because YouTube doesn't accept loaders, which makes sense. But there we go. That's going to be our thumbnail. We're going to download it as a PNG. And I'm going to go to the file where I put all my winter band concert stuff. I'm going to add a new folder that says JHYT. You don't have to do that, but like winter band concert 7th YT thumbnail. Sure, doesn't really matter because it's on your computer. you can name what you want. Go back to the 7th grade band, and then we're going to upload the thumbnail, find where we have all that stuff, and then we're going to click save. If there's a ton of videos in it, like there's like 9 or 10 like I have in the high school band concert, then you might want to make a playlist for it. But this one actually I'm just going to put under 2020 concerts and 2020-2021 live events. Obviously it's going to depend on how many playlists you have on yours, and you can copy mine if you want, but I have this one on the playlist as well. So now we're basically going to do that for the rest of them. Alright, so I have successfully added all of these descriptions, so that they are all done. I've added the thumbnails, I've added them both to the playlist. So now it is time to set them to be public. However, these are not done editing yet from the original video, so they will go live as soon as they're done, and that should be all of it. The other thing we might want to do, and that is that once we are done processing this video, once it's done processing it, which I don't think it is yet, yeah, it's not done processing yet. Even though I can still see it, it's not done making the changes, which is fine. Even though, yeah, it says still processing. So once that is done, for example, this is the junior high band concert. So something that we may want to do, and that I'm going to do as soon as this is done, is that I'm going to download the video, even though I can't download it yet. But like I said, you have to wait until it's done. Is upload it to the Branson Junior High School live stream or YouTube channel. And so once that concert is done, I'm going to set it so that you can edit it, or so that I can upload it to the junior high, and it'll just get more viewership there, because that's just what you want to do, is spread the word about yourself and your impact in the Branson area. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to add time cards for all of this. And now obviously, again, since this one is still processing, I can't edit this one, or else everything will be off by a lot. But these I should be able to update still. Nope, it's still processing. BRB. Alright, so everything on the all of my changes have been updated, and everything's public now. And so now we're going to add time cards to the video. So I'm going to show you what that is on the high school one, because I've already did it on the high school, I think. Maybe I didn't. In the fall band concert I did, though. Yeah, I didn't do it on the entire stream. I just did it on the old ones. So you can see on here that I have like this is intro, and then I have 3 pieces. Yeah, just all the pieces labeled, and then if you click on the arrow, then you can see all of the different chapters, is what YouTube calls it, of what all the songs are and everything. And that's really important for some people. That way they know, hey, oh, I want to like listen to Escape from the Deep from them. And there you go. It's just about the exact time when they start. And so that's always great. So we are going to do that for the junior high, and I'll do it for the high school too, but I'll do that later. So we'll start with the 8th grade honors band one, and so we're gonna pull it up here, and then we are going to go to edit details, and we're gonna just go down at the very bottom here, and we're going to, first off, always you have to set an intro. At least I like to. So we're just going to do 000. So you put in the time of what it is. Intro. And then we're going to go over to, it makes it easy for me since I have my little lower third. So 19 seconds is probably about where we want to be, because I like to include the banner. So the first Noel. And then we go back here. Did I pass it? No? Here we go. Yep, 513 is perfect. Above the world. Okay. And then that should be everything, since they only play 2 songs. We don't have to do an outro, that should be fine. But now, if you click save, now you refresh, we now have it. And so then I can do the first Noel. And then above the world. So that's how I did that. Now obviously you can see that right here, so now that we've done that, and that's good, even though that they won't necessarily see the his talking, but that's okay. We will go into the next one. We will just continue to do that. Okay, 39 seconds is good for that. And that's Big Sky Roundup. That's how I put it. No, I put it the other one. Okay. $4.17. Okay, so now we have 8th grade done, so we can now refresh. And we now have those right in the timeline. And so now we're going to do 7th grade band. Okay, so now we have the 7th grade done, and so now we are going to do the entire stream time cards, which that one takes a lot longer. Okay, so now we are going to refresh, and now we have all of those pieces, and you can see that it's a bit more separated now with all the pieces, but that's okay. It's not that big of a deal. So now we have that. That's just about all we need to do on YouTube.
All right, so this is me closing the video of this live streaming guide. I'm so sorry that it took so long to get through everything. But like I said in the beginning, this is cut down from some people's videos that are like 8 hours long, I've heard. So having it 2.5-ish hours is pretty good as far as my standards go, and that's about the length of a normal stream anyway. So I hope this was very informative and as entertaining as I can be. But basically my final things that I want to say is that you need to make sure that you advertise your streams. That's very important, and many people don't do that, and you don't get a good audience. And another thing that I didn't mention earlier is that if you want to offload your recording to Google Drive and as a backup, that is somewhat recommended, especially if you have the space for it, if you're using the Branson Schools unlimited storage account. So that's going to be wrap up for this video. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.